Okay, on to part D of question 1. So I split this up just because this is a bit diverged from the rest of the questions here. So here it says you tell your EC312 instructor about baseball.exe, but he says he is unable to run the program. Which of the following steps would give your instructor the ability to execute baseball.exe? So we're looking at baseball.exe in the printout here and looking at the permissions. So this is the owner, right? Midshipman or the user has that. And they have these three permissions, right? So that's who owns it. We then have students, and students have these three permissions, r-x, and then everyone else right now has 0 permissions. So because your instructor is not a student, we're assuming that they don't have any permissions on this because everyone else who's not midshipmen or who is not students is unable to execute this program. So first thing, add your instructor to the group called students. Well, if we look here, students is the group that's associated with this file, and they have read execute permissions. That r-x means read and execute. And so that would work because the instructor would then be part of students and have the permission to execute the program. Use chmod or chmod to give your instructor read privileges on baseball.c. That won't do anything because we don't actually need to read baseball.c, right? We need them to be able to execute baseball.exe, right? So we shouldn't be doing anything to baseball.c here. Change ownership of baseball.exe and make your instructor the file owner. That would work, right? Because if we changed midshipman to your instructor, then they have read, write, execute permissions. So that would work as well. Typing chmod o plus x. So O is other or everyone, however you want to say that. So O is other and everyone, and then execute is the execute permission, right? X, and we're adding it. So this would in fact give everyone else the ability to execute that file, including your instructor. Here it's baseball.c, so that's not what we want. So that's not going to work. And then chmod o plus r, that's read permissions, which is not what we want. So that's also going to be a non-starter. So just those three will be how we can have the instructor execute that. Moving on to the final part, part E. You implement one of these changes so that your instructor can execute baseball.exe. However, when your instructor runs the program, this is printed to the screen. Navy Baseball scored a total of 134518288 runs. Explain the program's unexpected behavior. So if we look back at the code, we can see that we've got runs per inning. We have 9 things in that. We initialize that to some values for each of them. And then we sort of loop through starting at 1, and we go up to 9, and we increment that each time. The issue that we're going to run into is that score is going to be based off of the sort of array that's defined throughout the program. And if we look at this loop, let me pull that back up. If we look at this loop, it goes from I equals 1 up to I is less than 9. So the last thing that's going to be updated because of that, score at 9 would get updated when I is equal to 9. And I is never going to be equal to 9 within this loop because it's less than 9, which is not correct, right? We would need to have this be I is less than or equal to 9 for this to possibly work, or the way that we want it to. So score 9 is never going to be output, or never going to be updated, and that's what's output here is score 9. So we would really need that to say probably score 8 instead to fix the bug. But as it stands, because we output this thing that isn't really there, score 9 is not a valid index in the score array, which has 9 ints from score 0 to score 10 or to score 8, right? So those are the valid indexes in that array. So score 9 is garbage. So when we print that to the screen, we see some random number that's in memory, and it doesn't make any sense. Hence the 1, 3, 4, etc. runs that get printed. That's it for question 1.